Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has described the Saturday morning arrest of Mr. Omoyele Sowore as kidnapping in the guise of arrest. Sowore Omoyele, presidential candidate of the African Action Congress in the February 2019 general elections, was arrested by operatives of the DSS at his home on Saturday. The presidential candidate of the PDP said the action stands condemned, noting that freedom of speech is not only constitutionally guaranteed, it is substructure of our democracy. He stated this via his verified Twitter handle at Atiku on Saturday. Critics of the human rights activists' arrest believe that the DSS action was predicated on the planned nationwide arrest. And being joined in the studio by a legal practitioner, Mr. Emeka Nwadioke. He is here to take us through this situation. First and foremost, this story broke and everybody was surprised because prior to now, we did not know that Sowore had a criminal record, because the DSS would come for you if you had maybe a criminal record or something that has to do with terrorism. But what would you, as a lawyer, how would you describe this arrest? Is it legal? Is it right in any way? Or is this not an infringement of his human right?
Yeah, thank you. There are so many dimensions to the arrest. One is to suggest, if you want to argue in favor of DSS, to say that they are interested in protecting state security and national security, because even in the Constitution, which says that there's guarantee for freedom of expression, there are equally some provisions which derogate from these provisions. But specifically, anyway, the Constitution, just like I alluded, guarantees the freedom of expression of Nigerians. It also guarantees the freedom of assembly of Nigerians. And really, although, yes, defense is one of the derogations under which the freedom of expression in particular can be maybe derogated against. So it's a bit conflicting here and there, but probably in course of discussion we'll...
But one would look at this, because I'm looking at the derogation that you're talking about in the Constitution, in view of a person calling for protest. I mean, there are protests everywhere in the world. Sudan is having its protest. Yes. Hong Kong is having its protest. Yes. If we have a right to protest and do so peacefully, demanding, in his case, for good governance, which doesn't mean that people are carrying arms or anything. He has been an activist before he ran for government. So I'm wondering, does that derogation warrant that kind of arrest at that time of the day?
Anyway, you know, DSS is used to all these nocturnal arrests. If you recall what happened to even the judges, it was about the same time that they raided the homes of judges, and they were massively criticized for such acts. So it's probably, I think we're being used to such nocturnal arrests as regards the DSS in particular. But that said, the right to freedom of expression is quite fundamental, you know, because you can't really ask Nigerians not to protest. And you can't equally ask Nigerians not to rally, because instructively, again, you recall that even the president, when his party, the ANPP,
at the time,
at the time, held a rally. You know, the rally was more or less aborted by the police, and they actually went to court. And you know, you see a situation where even that was actually the point that Mr. Femi Falana, senior advocate of Nigeria, was making, that he was even the lawyer to Mr. Buhari, president of Nigeria, you know, when they went to court to challenge the abortion of their protest. So, and the court also made, you know, a valid pronouncement that Nigerians have a right to protest, and that we don't even need a police permit to protest. The Federal High Court held that, and the Court of Appeal also validated that decision. So definitely the right to protest is inviolable. So I guess maybe the slight issue with his protest, planned protest on Monday, was that they were maybe calling it a revolution.
I was about to ask that
yes.
You know, maybe the word revolution is the sensitive word there, or that could be passing the wrong information.
Yes, but then again, even that is also subject to query, because again I refer you to even what the president himself said sometime probably in 2005 or thereabout, 2007, and he actually said that the PDP and its leadership don't accept social justice. If there is no social justice, in a question of time, there will be revolution in one form or the other. This is Mr. President saying so. So if a former presidential candidate then comes on to say, well, we want a revolution, so who is then the government to now, you know, unleash its security apparatus on the person? At any rate, it's even a mere intention. Nothing has even been activated. So
okay, I'd like to take your mind back to 2017. Two-Face Idibia, a very famous musician, was going to partner with an NGO called Enough is Enough to go on a protest of sorts, again, for good governance. And overnight, we had a series of messages coming out from Two-Face saying he was being threatened, and then he was going to call off that protest. And so that protest, you know, somewhat died down, and it wasn't, you know, it didn't gather the kind of momentum.
Exactly.
Now, with the arrest of Mr. Sowore, do you think that this protest would stand down, being that the front man is being held in custody, and maybe they would have to rethink the headline word for that protest?
Yes. When you look at it, because at the end of the day, I think they're basically trying to pass a message, you know, which is to say maybe that the government is not, the country is not properly run. So even the arrest, again, you know, raises the currency on that, the subject of their protest. So now everybody is talking about Sowore, and everybody is more or less referring to the subject of that conversation. So one way or the other, the topic is being discussed. Is there good governance? Is there not? Should things be better? And
but
all
I'm
that.
just thinking, and because it's the DSS that is involved and not just the police,
yes,
could it also be that maybe they got intel, probably, that there was going to be some form of disturbance, hence the reason why this has happened? We're speculating here because we do not have any information. But could it also be that maybe the government has gotten wind of the fact that that might be hijacked by scrupulous elements, hence this move? Because we're still all trying to understand this move. Yes. What do you think?
I don't really think so. I think it's just their usual style of moving to, you know, quell a kind of protest all the while. So we've seen it played back all the time. So I don't think there's any intel on any spectacular whatever. These are just basically ordinary citizens trying to gather. But what you basically see is that over time, the government has more or less not really been more or less intolerant of you know, protests and criticism. So we are not surprised that this is happening. It's condemnable. Basically, there's really all they needed to do was really give the protesters mass protection. On Monday, they do their thing, and everybody goes home. I don't think we've had protests all over the place. I know he's been collaborating with this. Abdul Karim has been very vocal about it. Whether the people, the other people on ground can pull it off, it's left to be seen.
Finally, before I let you go, just in a few words, Atiku Abubakar, former vice president, has spoken on this. The legal advisor for the party has also spoken about it. Do you in any way support their stance? Because the vice president, former vice president, is saying that this is some form of a gag order. and kidnap. That's what he calls it. And the other party is saying that, you know, almost the same thing, the legal advisor, and that it's an infringement of his right. Do you in any way subscribe to kidnap?
I think kidnap, he was hinting on the time of the day, because this happened maybe 2:30 or thereabout, which is 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m. So it's like someone is in his bed.
But it's a secret service and they work in secret.
It doesn't really matter. Probably they should have better ways of even inviting people to, but going to, you know, hijack someone on his, you know, in his bedroom at that hour of the night is very...
And do you think government is going to speak on this anytime soon?
I believe so. I believe so, because he's a citizen, and he's actually a high-profile citizen of Nigeria, and I believe they have to respond one way or the other.